Hello, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to take a look at some interesting screwdrivers that I got that were new old stock. And they happen to be PoziDriv screwdrivers made by Klein. These didn't have their packaging, but this one still does. And these are new old stock. I don't think they're made any longer. They are indeed PoziDriv. They're insulated. They are made in USA, and the packaging is dated 2014. PoziDriv screwdrivers aren't overly common here in the North American continent. So let's take a look at these. So we have two number 2s, and one's just longer than the other. One's 4-inch, one's 6. And we have a number 1. So if we want to look at that, it's a nice tip. It's the typical Pozi. And these are different than Phillips. You'll know when you get on one. Here's a number 2. You'll know when you get on one that it's not seating properly. And with more and more European stuff or stuff made out of Asia, Pozi is becoming more and more prevalent. So I kind of wanted to have a set thrown in the work carry. I have a set here in the home shop, but I wanted to have a set for the work carry, and I was happy to find these. So that gives me an option. If I run into Pozi, I don't have to work with the tiny little bits. These are pretty nice. So these are USA made screwdrivers, 2014 vintage, we'll say. And they're nice. If you're familiar with Klein screwdrivers, they have all of the fixings of the USA-made Klein screwdrivers. They have the nice rubberized handle. They have the mark on the butt of the screwdriver. You can see that's a Pozi shape there. They have the plastic. It's yellow plastic. It doesn't really look it in the video, but they have the yellow plastic handle with the rubberized handle shrunk fit on it. And then these have the insulated shank, and you can see maybe a lot of reflection. This has a lot of ridges inside here. It's basically like a spline that allows it to a lot of good overlap with everything that's not going to slip. The insulated shank is actually plastic, and it's pretty nice actually. This is the first I've had of these. They say they're 1000 volt rated. This actually ought to hold up pretty good. I do have another high voltage Klein screwdriver, but that one has like heat shrinking on it, so it's not quite as nice as these are. These are actually a pretty nice screwdriver. The insulation gets a little thinner here towards the tip to allow you to get into tighter spots. This screwdriver in particular, the longer one, I think is going to be really handy. I like longer screwdrivers. It keeps your hands out of the sharp stuff. But decent amount of the tip is exposed, the metal, but not too much to make it that you would really have a problem getting into it. You know, you can, if you are working on something hot, you got plenty of contact there. Smaller ones are kind of the same. Nice rubberized handle. And this feels good. It's not getting sticky or anything. You have your mark. They don't have a number 2 on it. They just have the Pozi mark. And then this is just a smaller version of the plastic, encapsulating that. About the same amount exposed there on the 2 number 2s. In fact, about the same amount exposed on the number 1. And we take a look at the number 1. Has the mark of the Pozi. There we go. And it's just a smaller version. Nice screwdrivers. I've always liked Klein screwdrivers. They've always worked well. Decent grip. They're round. They're not trapezoidal or triangular or anything hexagon. They just are a round screwdriver, but it's a decent outside diameter to get your hands on, and you don't slip a lot. Now, if you were working on in a lot of oil or something like that, you may not be happy with these because the rubber might eventually get a little goofy if you have it subjected to oil a lot. But generally, I don't. So it's a good fit for me. So I thought we'd take the chance here to just take a look at these under the microscope. We got her flashed up. Let's take a look at these, see how they look in a little bit better detail. So let's take a look at the number 2 Pozi here, and we'll just start looking at the handle. Here you can see that rubber. It's a nicely made rubber, not overly porous. Here's that yellow plastic handle. You can kind of tell it's yellow a little bit better here, but it's still kind of hard to see the pattern in here of how, there you go, you can kind of see it. There you can see the kind of the spline drive that they have inside there. Moving down the shank, the light from the microscope is discoloring this a little bit, but you get the idea. The plastic is nice. There's not a lot of flashing on the mold. It's not got burrs all over it or anything like that. If I can hold it in focus there. There we go. And this is a raised portion where they have those marks. Here's your 1000 volt qualifications. Get down to, here's where they neck down the insulation, and there is our number 2 Pozi tip. That is your classic Pozi tip. Nicely made. You can see the tool marks here from when they ground that. You can see kind of how the Pozi is. I could get a normal Phillips out here and we could compare. So here's a multi-tool Phillips and the Pozi. You can see the Pozi has a little bit more of a wing to it. And the grind marks are a little bit different on the Pozi. The Pozi has kind of this piece that goes down into the tip here. You can see that. That's all part of the Pozi part. That also engages in the screw head, whereas the Phillips does not have that. So that's some of the difference between Pozi and Phillips. If you know more, let us know in the comments below. But that's what I've always known to be the differences between them. But that's a really nicely made screwdriver tip. Let's take a look at the other number 2. Pretty much the same thing. You can see that it's already collecting some metal shavings. It's not surprising. You can kind of see that there might be some sort of membrane, white membrane in there on the screwdriver shank as an extra layer of insulation. Yep, this one has it too. You can see it down in there. Let's take a look at the number 1. Basically the same thing. Very nice. You can see a little bit more of that other layer of insulation there. You can see there's a little bit of oil on that from shipping, but overall very nice. A little bit of flashing there from the mold on that one, but you don't really feel it. You just kind of see it. But overall very nice. And you can see this one also has that engagement. They're very well attached. And here's your rubber handle on the number 1. How hard are these screwdrivers? This is something that maybe we'll do as we start looking at screwdrivers a little bit more. Now that we've got these, we can get a baseline and see whose screwdrivers are the hardest. This is a little bit of a dance because the harder you make them, the more brittle they are, but the softer you make them, the more they wear out. So it's a dance. So let's just see. Rockwell 40. Skating right off of that. .45, also skating. 50, a little bit of a mark, still skating. 55, there we're starting to make a mark. I can feel some drag. I'd say we're right around a Rockwell 55. And we had a commenter in another video that commented what HRC was. I really didn't know when I was making the original video of the hardness files. And it simply stands for Hardness Rockwell C Scale. So there you have it, HRC, Hardness Rockwell C Scale. These screwdrivers are around an HRC 55 on the Rockwell scale. Now you know. So I thought we'd take a quick look here at some Pozi Klein screwdrivers. I thought it was an obscure thing to find. Kind of thought it was neat. Thought I'd share. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day.